Hi everyone, my name is Priya and welcome to my channel. So today's video I'm going to be doing this painting of a toucan using acrylic paints. I haven't done an acrylic painting for a couple of months and I really was feeling like working on a canvas and working with my acrylic paints. So I decided to do a colorful bright toucan and I started off with a sketch of the bird with a water soluble graphite pencil and also the placement of the different branches and the different leaves. Now, all the supplies I'm using will be listed in the description box below. And the reason for using a water-soluble pencil, although I am using acrylics and I know the acrylic will cover the pencil, I still don't want to have any lines showing through if I do leave certain areas where it's going to be a little bit more translucent. If there are going to be areas like that, I don't want the pencil to show through. It's just a guide for me to use. Although with acrylic paints, they most likely will get covered, the lines, but I prefer to use a water-soluble graphite pencil. But you could use for acrylic a graphite pencil. It's just that I find the water-soluble less messy because it's not going to smudge the graphite into the paint when you are painting over it. So I started off with an initial sketch and then I started blocking in all the different colors for the different areas of the painting. That is for the different leaves and obviously the branches. And now I'm doing the same for the toucan itself and I'm adding the colors for the beak, and the area around the eye as well as the rest of the body of the toucan. But now I'm not paying attention now to add details. I'm looking at a reference photo as I'm painting the toucan, but I'm just looking for the placement more or less of the different colors and the different areas and keeping the shapes that I need to. But I'm not really adding a lot of details and I'm not really refining anything at this stage. I'm just blocking in the colors and just basically getting all the placements of the different areas of the bird and the rest of the painting. So at this stage, I'm using a bit more water with my acrylic paints. That's just to get the area covered with not using very thick paint. I just want to just get the area covered with enough paint to cover the white of the canvas. So now you can see I'm working on covering the entire piece. I added a bit more pigment or color where I wanted the areas to be darker. I'm going to darken it up some more. I'm using a hairdryer to speed up the drying time. So if you are working on a painting and you want to speed up drying time, you can use a hairdryer. It works perfectly fine when you're working. I'm always using my hairdryer for all my different wet mediums that I use for my painting. So now I'm going in and I'm adding a bit more of the orange and the yellow to brighten up those colors and make them more vibrant, as well as blending some of that colors into one another. But once again, I'm going to come through and refine that later in the video. So you can't really see it, but I just painted in the white on the neck. I am going to be adding some shadows to the area around the neck, but it doesn't, the reference photo I'm using doesn't have a lot of shadow areas on that part of the bird, but I will be adding a bit more shadow with some grays just to really make it look more realistic. But I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick it up because the camera, it just looks very bright white. You'll see later as well, even though I have added that hints of the feathers overlapping with the shadow areas on the neck. So now I'm going in with a second layer of paint covering all the leaves, and I'm just keeping the direction of the brush strokes relative to the shape of the leaf, but I'm not really paying too close attention. But I just want to get, and I don't even want to try to cover up all the brush strokes. I'm trying to let some of them show through. That's going to add to the texture of the leaves. But I am keeping a bit of the brush strokes in the direction of the leaf, and that will help later when I'm adding the details and it will show through. So the underlayer, under painting, or the first layer will also show through as I'm adding the details to the leaves, which all adds to the texture of the leaves. Now remember, when you're painting leaves, leaves are not flat and they have these curves on them, and certain areas will have shadows, certain areas will have light hitting it. So bear that in mind when you are painting leaves. So you can see now I'm going in with a light green and I'm just basically drawing in all the the little veins of the leaves. Certain areas will have darker or brighter green, certain areas will be darker. Even the leaves themselves, I'm going to be adding shadow areas. There's some areas that are darker, some areas that I'm lightening up, as you can see. But the areas that I'm lightening up are where the light is brighter, the leaves are brighter, and I'm still keeping those darker areas showing through. So that's very important when you're working with leaves. Don't forget that they're not a uniform color. They're not just a solid one color green. They have different values, different shadow areas, and highlight areas which you need to bring out when you are painting. So I didn't want to make my leaves very dark because I wanted this painting to be a bit bright. So I let the leaves show quite a bit of light, but certain areas, especially the leaves at the bottom, I left quite a bit of the dark showing because obviously they are more darker because they're underneath and they're behind, well, not behind, but they at the lower level to the toucan, and obviously the light is coming from the top. The toucan is still sitting in the middle of trees, so it's in the middle of all the branches and the leaves, so some of the leaves in the background will be darker. So there I decided to add another leaf at the back of the behind the toucan because for some reason it just looked strange, the background on that area around his neck. So I decided to add the leaf just to tie everything together, as well as just to take that emptiness of that background that was there with the darker color. Now I'm just adding a bit more, starting to add a bit more details to the, or not details, but I'm just bringing out the feet of the bird. And then now I'm just adding another layer of paint over the branches that the bird is sitting on, as well as the ones in the background. Now I'm letting some of those initial colors that I put down and brushstrokes show through. That helps for the texture of the branches as well. And now I'm going in with some darker brown just to really get those dark shadow areas on the underneath side of the branches. So now I'm using my filbert brush and I'm just adding some yellow and orange to the beak, and I'm getting that smooth blend between the colors. So I would always recommend using a filbert brush if you want to get a smooth blend. They really work very well for that. So I'm basically adding more of the orange and I'm adding some details now. Now I'm looking at the reference photo and seeing where all the lines go. With acrylics, it's not a problem. If you need to cover an area, you can just go over it with the paint. It covers very well because acrylics are opaque and you can cover a dark area with a light color and it works fine. And now I'm working on the underside of the bird, just above the tail. That area is very dark red, but there's a lot of shadows because it's the underside of the bird, so there's going to be a lot of maroon as well. So I'm using a liner brush just to get that feathered look and to create that shadow areas as well. And now I'm just going in with the eyes and adding another layer of color to the eyes, and also cleaning up some of the areas on the beak. That's a good thing about acrylics. All you got to do is just add a layer of paint over and you have the area looking clean again if you do have any smudging or color going over certain areas that you don't want it to show. And you can just use a hairdryer like I did in between just to speed up your drying time. Now there you can see I added the highlight for the eye. Now it's very important when you're doing any painting or drawing of an animal. If you want the animal to really look alive, pay close attention to the reference photo and the placement of the highlight in the eye. The highlight has to be in the direction that the light is hitting the animal or the direction that the animal is facing. So if the animal is facing the light will come from the front, so the highlight will be in front. So that you'll need to look at your reference photo and work on that. Based on your reference photo. So you see which angle or which area the eye has the highlight and you add it there. It really brings the animal to life, as well as it just completes the piece. So that's something to really pay close attention to when you are working with your paintings or your drawings of any animals or birds, wildlife, any animal. It's really important. It brings the animal to life. So now I'm going in with some grays, and this is just so that I can get some of the details of the feathers now, because I haven't added a lot of feathers or the details of the feathers. Now this bird has got different shape feathers, different length feathers, and different areas. Well, obviously it is black, so you're going to need gray to really bring out those feathers. It's not a solid black color. There's going to be light hitting it at different angles, so the feathers are going to look different from different angles, as well as you're going to need a bit of lighter gray to bring out the highlights. So there we have our completed toucan. Now all I'm doing now is just painting in the edges. The edges are entirely up to you. Initially I never used to paint my edges, then I started painting the edges, let the painting or the picture go over the edges, and then sometimes I just paint it solid like I'm doing now, and I just put 2 coats of paint to cover the edges so it doesn't look blotchy. So I guess that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to like and share. Feel free to comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Till the next one. Bye.